I'm Dave Kassler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, and welcome to Augie's Worldwide. I've been doing YouTube videos for nearly 10 years now, and every so often it's fun to do a video about something I use to create the videos. Once a year I review my video editing software, and since the makers just rolled to a new version for 2019, now's a good time. Video editing software is what allows folks to combine video shops into a single, longer video, together with audio, titles, sound effects, voiceover, photographs, and so on. When you're done editing, the software renders all of this into a single video file suitable for showing others or putting on YouTube or Facebook. When I first started, a decade ago, I used a video editor that I picked up at Office Depot on the recommendation of the salesperson who sold me an upgraded computer. The software was capable enough, but kept crashing so often it was hard to complete projects. I looked around for an alternate and did some research. One product kept coming up over and over, and that was CyberLink PowerDirector. As it turned out, my new computer had a freeware version of it buried in all the extras, so I gave it a try and thought it was worth exploring. Soon I purchased the real PowerDirector. I've been using PowerDirector since version 9. With annual reviews, that's 7 years now. I've had no thoughts of jumping ship. It does everything I want and much, much more. CyberLink saw what I was doing on YouTube several years ago and invited me to become one of their most valued professionals and featured me on their website. As an MVP, I get their software free every year in exchange for an annual review on YouTube. This is that review. Let's see where PowerDirector sits in the spectrum of video editors. The very simplest are Windows Movie Maker and Apple's iMovie. If you've never used a video editor, start with one of those. Play around and see what you can do. On the other end of the spectrum are the tools Hollywood uses for its big blockbuster movies. The first and foremost of these is Avid Media Composer. Right behind this is Apple Final Cut Pro and Adobe Premiere Pro, along with a few minor players. Adobe Premiere Pro tends to straddle the professional and prosumer markets. Lots of people use Adobe products available by paid annual subscription. They're very full-featured, very complex, very professional, very expensive, with a very steep learning curve to go along. Learning and keeping up with Adobe editing products can be a full-time job or even a career. Next come the prosumer and consumer market. The product in this space that scores best in all the comparisons is CyberLink PowerDirector. Based on these reviews as of quite a few years ago, I settled on CyberLink PowerDirector, now at version 17. I've grown with the product. It's available for direct purchase or by subscription. If you tend to rebuy the upgraded product every year, it's cheaper by subscription. Given all the recent hoopla about China, I need to point out this is a product from Taiwan. I think that needlessly puts some people off. A native English speaker writes their manuals and help text and makes numerous tutorial videos. Note that, yes, this is Chinese. No, it is not the Chinese Communist mainland. Taiwan has been a friend of the U.S. since the mainland Communist Revolution in 1949. You don't hear much about Taiwan these days, but it's a major force in the semiconductor market. Let's look at the CyberLink website and their PowerDirector product variations. There are two ways you can purchase PowerDirector: buying a lifetime license for a given version or via an annual subscription. CyberLink has somewhat simplified their portfolio recently. There are two versions of licensable PowerDirector: Ultra, which is the entry level, and Ultimate, which is a much fuller version. You can easily get started with Ultra and move up as your skills grow. You can buy PowerDirector along with PhotoDirector, which is CyberLink's answer to Adobe Photoshop. Then come the subscription versions. You can get just CyberLink from $5.83 a month, which works out to $70 per year, or buy the full-featured Director Suite 365 for $130 a year. This last feature also includes 2 companion programs, ColorDirector, a pretty powerful color grading tool, and AudioDirector, a nice audio tool. You also get the PhotoDirector tool and some extra cloud storage. I make note that with the Director Suite, you get some extra effects from New Blue and Boris. As it turns out, I use one of those extra New Blue effects with every video, so the Director Suite 365 is the version I have. One of the nice things about the subscription approach is that CyberLink automatically updates all its software in the background, so you don't have to worry about fixes and security patches. And every year, you get the latest. Let's take a look at the CyberLink interface. Note that it has a dark skin that can't be flipped to a light skin, so it's a little hard to see unless you're looking at it in person. I'll make enlarged screen captures to make it easier. Look across the top here. There are 4 main sections: capture, edit, produce, and create disk. Let's start with capture capabilities. PowerDirector has a built-in capture capability built around your webcam or other video or audio source connected directly to your computer. This will create a video clip and put it on your editing timeline. Normally, you would use video clips from some sort of external capture device, such as your smartphone or a camera. Here before you are some different cameras that I have collected over the past 10 years. My main camera is the one I'm using right now, the Panasonic DMC-G7. Also here you see a Panasonic HDC TM90. I have a GoPro Hero 2, a Sony DSC-W560 point-and-shoot, a Brino for time-lapse, and an old Kodak ZI-8 that was my starter video camera. And another very handy video camera is on this DJI Spark drone. Excellent camera. Now, this is a point-and-shoot camera, and this is not. Yet, for all its complexity, my G7 can be put into the equivalent of point-and-shoot mode. In fact, for normal use, that's how I set it. But when I want to capture high-quality video in my studio, like this, I go manual and use lots of different manual settings to get the video to look its best right out of the camera. Well, CyberLink software is a lot like my G7. It has features galore, but you can easily put it in an editing mode equivalent to point and shoot. This is the storyboard editing view. You simply plop clips onto the storyboard in the order you wish to see them. You can trim up each clip if you want, and can drop in a few titles and set the transition between clips, and then make your video that way. It's pretty simple. The nice thing is that when you're ready, you can drop the training wheels and go into timeline mode. In timeline mode, you can do the same things plus so much more. Let's take a closer look, because timeline mode is where editing gets interesting. Here's the timeline from a recent video of mine. It spans multiple tracks, and many special effects have been added. It's possible to zoom in on the timeline down to the individual video frames. You can also see the audio tracks from each. I synchronize the tracks using the audio portion. It's pretty easy to get the synchronization just right. Let's take a look at the track concept, because that's where the real work is done. Up to 100 video tracks, way more than you'll ever use. I've never used more than 8 or 10, usually to stack titles atop one another. A track can be video only, audio only, or both video and audio. You can also put photographs on the track. There are separate tracks for special effects, text, voiceover, and music, but you do not have to use any of these designated tracks. You can use any track. Many of the original PDR effects will drop onto the FX or Special Effects track, but most of the new ones are dropped on a video clip directly. You can select just the portions of a video file that you want to use. You can adjust the order in which clips are shown. You can mute a clip's audio. I do this after I've synced up the separately recorded soundtrack. You can edit down to individual frames if need be. The editor is very smart about discerning what you mean, so there won't be any black or missed frames. While your video clip is on the track, there are lots of things you can do to videos to enhance them using either native PowerDirector features or separate software plugins. You can adjust lighting, white balance, stabilization of shaky video, including circular shaking, lens correction, denoising, audio denoising, edge enhancements, color adjustments, and enhancements and matchings and preset split toning and a sort of HDR effect. You can compare results of adjustment using a split window. You can adjust video speed by quite a huge margin, crop, zoom, and pan, and even reverse video. There's also a motion tracker. You can transition between video clips 7 ways to Sunday, but I recommend a simple cut or a quick fade. Transition duration is easily adjusted. You can do lots of things with still images, often called Ken Burns effects because he popularized them, such as panning, zooming, rotating, etc. I like to use a zoom in or zoom out to help viewers focus on the part of the image I want them to see. There's an advanced concept called keyframes. You can decide when during a clip you want to adjust an effect and by how much. It comes in handy, but until you use it, it stays nicely out of the way. Now, the point of multiple tracks is that the lower tracks, meaning higher track numbers, are rendered on top of the track above. An example of this is a title or a picture-in-picture. You can put one video clip on top of another. There's a rather thorough set of sample text effects and plugins that allow you to make your own text effects, and these can be as simple or complex as you desire, including 3D type effects. There's often more than one way to do something. For example, green screen. I found my favorite way for most things. I use green screen, or more properly chroma key, often. I found a nice new blue plugin for green screen that works well. There's also the native chroma key built into the software itself. Basically, chroma key finds things in video clips that closely match the designated chroma and within a range of values, meaning how light or dark, and makes these transparent so the layer underneath, which is the background layer, can be seen. When you save your work, you save it into a CyberLink PowerDirector project. The project file is an XML file that lists all the adjustments and cuts you've made. PowerDirector can autosave this file for you at user-defined intervals to a user-defined location. New in PowerDirector 17 is the ability to nest projects, so you can work on smaller chunks and then combine them later. I don't use this, although in the past I've used named projects for video intros and video endings. The software will edit many video types. I have yet to find something it won't edit. I usually record in MP4 and render in MP4, though this particular Panasonic only shoots AVC HD. There's no problem editing one type of file and then rendering it as another type. I recommend MP4 for YouTube. You can mix and match formats, meaning like 4:3, 16:9, etc., if you proceed carefully. CyberLink has been adding some designer plugins. For example, there's a nice multicam capability in which you can sync up and run video from several sources and then make switches between them while editing. There's a screen recorder, a set of action camera tools, a feature for editing 360-degree camera files, a theme and template designer, a mask designer, and video collages. Again, these sit nicely out of the way until you call for them. The software will also edit 3D video, although I have no personal experience with that. Now, the media library includes video clips with or without audio, audio clips, photographs or images, color boards, and you can create new color boards if you need them. There are a few stock background images. I use the technology one modified with the OG logo, canned background music, and built-in sound effects. However, regarding the sound, I recommend you use music and sound effects from the YouTube audio library to avoid copyright issues. I know you get permission to use these built-in ones as part of your PowerDirector license, but YouTube doesn't always see it that way. There are numerous special effects. Fortunately, you can select the ones you like the most into My Favorites. Two of my favorites are New Blue Chroma Key for green screen and New Blue Video Tune-Up Plus. There are the picture-in-picture special effects room and the particle room, two rooms I rarely use. Then comes the all-important text room. There are a gazillion ways to set up text, and getting up some text style that you will use regularly is a key part of determining your unique look. If you tweak a text effect and want to save it for future use, you can do so, creating a custom setting. I've set up quite a few custom text settings over the years. Every so often, I prune them. The next window is the transition room, meaning the transitions between clips on the same track. There are dozens and dozens of these. I recommend a simple cut, meaning butting one clip up against another on a track. If you want a gentler transition, use a simple fade. Know that there are a couple transitions if you're transitioning between audio clips. I recommend the constant power transition. I also use the twist transition if I want to really emphasize a transition. Note that the overuse of non-cut transitions is distracting to the viewer. The transitions are cool to play with, but not always cool to watch repeatedly. For single video, stick with one kind of simple transition and use it everywhere that you don't use a simple cut. Next comes the audio track room, where you can set the audio level of each track individually. Note that you can adjust the audio level within a clip, which can help you smooth things over. There's a room devoted to real-time voiceovers, which create fully editable tracks. I suggest you look at the Preferences memo. Under Editing, you can choose standard durations for things like image files, transitions, and so on. You can set the default import and export directories. Under Display, you can select Preview Resolution. I make this preview of lower quality so my laptop can keep up with real-time previews. Under Projects, you can set how often it backs itself up and to where. Under Confirmation, you may want to uncheck Enable File Deletion from hard drives. I don't want to delete any original files. If I want to, I'll exit from PDR and use Windows File Delete. My one complaint is this white line that results if you drag a file from one screen to another to plop it into the PowerDirector media room. The workaround is to use native file I/O or pull the file window up atop PowerDirector before dragging files. Once you're done with your edit, saving it along the way, you're ready to turn it all into a final video file. PowerDirector calls this process producing, though the industry term is rendering. Rendering collapses all those layers down to one, and the resulting file is ready to show others or put up on YouTube or Facebook. PowerDirector can output many different file types, and its standard profiles can be customized. For example, my YouTube rendering profile gives me an MP4 file container with H.264 video at full HD, 24 frames per second, and a much lower data rate than normal, 5 megabits per second. This works well on YouTube and produces very acceptable image quality. PowerDirector and PowerDirector are two companion programs that come as part of the Director Suite 365 version. They have steep learning curves. They're somewhat integrated into PowerDirector in that you can go back and forth between these programs and not lose your edits. However, I found I can get close enough to the color I want with a new blue effect, which runs in real time, whereas effects created in PowerDirector and then applied in PowerDirector will slow the editor down below real time. Out of habit, I use Audacity for sound editing rather than PowerDirector, mostly because I have Audacity figured out, but not PowerDirector. I always record video and audio separately and then sync up in PowerDirector. That way I can massage the audio file for issues, compress it, and bring the audio levels up. If I use the in-camera audio, even with an external microphone, separating out the audio track for further editing creates many more editing steps. Note that you can do track-to-track balance and track audio level adjustments right in PowerDirector. It is possible to create DVDs. You can create chapter markers right in PowerDirector that will be used to mark chapters on a DVD. If your computer has appropriate Blu-ray drive, you can create Blu-ray discs. But this is no longer popular, nor are DVDs, as most videos are distributed online these days. In a couple final notes, Director Zone is an online sharing site for CyberLink users, and you can create an account if you wish. You may from time to time find that another user's uploaded template is just what you need. There is a CyberLink cloud where you can store files, but the size is kind of limited and uploads and downloads of long video files can be very slow. You can print the owner's manual and then have it bound at Office Depot or Staples or whatever. Also, there are numerous video tutorials to help you through common tasks and a fairly large body of YouTube tutorials, although note they may be for an earlier version. What's the bottom line after that combination of a review and tutorial? Do I like PowerDirector? Yes, very much. Do I recommend it? Yes, although you may want to first cut your teeth on Windows Movie Maker or Apple iMovie so you'll start to understand what an editor can do and what the terminology is. PowerDirector is in some ways like Excel. You can make very simple spreadsheets in Excel with very little training, but it can also grow into an incredibly powerful analysis tool. You can put PowerDirector into a simple storyboard mode, or you can create intricate and detailed timelines to create Hollywood-type movies. I will offer this advice. Go slow. Try things. Watch the tutorial videos. Be patient with yourself. PowerDirector is not perfect and continues to add capability, so be patient. Thanks for watching this review of CyberLink PowerDirector version 17. Normally, I stick with ham radio related stuff, but this week I wanted to review something that I used to create all the ham radio videos. I encourage you to click like, share, and subscribe. When you subscribe, be sure to click the bell so that you'll get email notification of all new videos or messages. You can support this channel financially by becoming a patron on patreon.com, dropping something in the tip jar, or looking at the cool Amazon stuff at my Amazon link. If you buy from that page, I get a bit of a finder's fee. I get asked why I ask for financial support. Well, I'm retired, and a little revenue stream from YouTube helps ease inflation's bite. But also, I don't get everything I review for free, So I do purchase equipment for review and use for demonstrations like the oscilloscope and signal generator I purchased with channel funds. Also, I upgrade video and audio equipment from time to time, and that stuff is remarkably expensive. So please forgive me. At least I put the funding plea at the end of the video. I'm continuing to work on updating the technician training videos to the new 4th edition of the ARRL Ham Radio License Manual. I'll release those as they're finished. Thanks for your incredible support. Thanks also for all the comments on the video about the FCC's recent public notice. Over 500. I can't get to every one, but I'm trying to at least read them all. So until next time, 73.